we destroying our cities? And why are we doing that? And in that, does all these fancy technology of GPSs and GISs and artificial intelligence and remote sensing, where do they fit in? Do they help solve our problems? Do they, as in understanding the causes of our problem?
I was going to go in that sequence.
I'd be surprised.
Okay. I want to respond to that in two instances, right? First, register is that one of our biggest challenges is really that our landscape, whether you're looking at the city or outside the city, is one which was shaped over the last maybe 700-800 years of agriculture. That's all. Right? So starting from, let's say, the 10th, 11th century, when the earthen dam on Kaveri River was built, which was actually repaired by Tata, which is how we figured out how to build dams. The British never knew how to build dams. They built one in Sheffield and then collapsed. The French knew. They built one in Hyderabad, right next to the Sultan. Yes, the other dam was built by the French Indians, right? At that time, British didn't know, 1816. British didn't know how to build dams. Anyway, so basically what happened is that you have a landscape that has been shaped very differently in different parts of India, right? We are now looking here, we're sitting bang in the middle of the Deccan, which has a very distinct terrain, which comes from geological events that are 2.5 billion years ago. That's the history. You can literally see, as you walk out of this campus, you can literally see signs of that 2.5 billion years of history at every step. You can say 2.5 billion years ago this happened, 2 billion years ago this happened, 65 million years ago this happened, 2000 years ago this, you can actually show it on the landscape. Now, what has happened with that? The kind of urbanization that we are doing now has no use for land other than as a platform on which you can build things, right? The dream piece of land for a good, modern, efficient architect who knows how to quickly build is a flat surface. So everything is flat. It doesn't matter to this architect whether it is red soil, black bottom soil, gravel, rocks, nothing. It doesn't matter. All of it has to be flat. Now here is the challenge, right? The challenge is that in an agrarian economy, the boundary of your piece of land on which you're working would follow the boundary of the red soil, the black bottom soil, which is the reason why if you look at the farm cadastral survey maps, the lines are all wavy, they're going all over the place. The moment that turns into urban property, you're looking at services delivery efficiency, right? You need to be able to deliver water, you need to be able to take out sewage, you need to be able to take out vehicles, and you need to have a place where you can turn your fire engine without difficulty, right? Which is a big challenge right now in Hyderabad, right? You have a regime now without floor space index, but if you go beyond 20 floors, the fire service guys will say, no way, we can't handle this because number one, we don't have a crane that can go that high. Number two, you don't give me enough room here for my vehicle to turn around. Right? This is what it is. So you have, number one, the nature of land use has changed, shape has changed, and the older commons have not disappeared. So take for example any water body, any lake here. We had this beautiful system of managing it, which was called Ek Fasal Patta in Tata. Ek Fasal Patta is basically where the state says that you take this for this season. You are an untouchable, you don't have money, you don't have resources, I am giving this to you for one season. What am I giving you? I am giving you the literal zone of the lake. Literal zone is the place from where the water from the month of October on recedes slowly because the rains have stopped until the next monsoon. This zone is very, very nutrient rich. It has insects, it has worms, it has fish, laying eggs. That's why you have all the migrant birds coming in during the month of October. This is when the birds come because the land is getting explored, right? That land is what was given with the condition that you cultivate this, but whatever temporary infrastructure you create here, you're going to remove it when you are done with it this season, right? There's an instrument for that. Problem today in our cities is that we have lost this diversity of tools by which we can tell people what to do and what not to do, because everything has to be reduced into one simple property form. Right? Everything has to be reduced into one single flat surface. This is where the challenge really lies. How do I now deal with what's happening? Because most of our water bodies, stuff that Kalpana works on, have lost the littoral zone now, and all our lakes have turned into ponds because you have built actually a concrete road in the place where the foreshore is supposed to be, which is where the water is supposed to go forward and backward. It doesn't do that anymore. Right? Necklace road means that water just remains stagnant in Hussain Sagar. Otherwise, we knew that water in Hussain Sagar could come all the way up to the bottom. It doesn't do that anymore. Right? Which means that your birds are gone, your fish is gone, your worms are gone, everything is gone. This is the challenge. Right? Now, when we are saying that we want to revitalize this, what are we trying to revitalize this? Hyderabad is a city which is hugely rice-eating city. Everybody is a potential type 2 diabetic. So we want places all around us where we can go for a morning walk for 5 kilometers. Where is your 5 kilometers in the city? Near your house. Therefore, we want to protect our lakes. Right? We want that road on either side of the lake, somehow or the other, so I can get my walk in the morning. This is the challenge. Right? That's the first register. Second register, we just 2 months at a time. The second register for that, very often we talk about technology. We have a tendency to talk about development only in one register. I belong to a school of geography in which we think about development in 2 things. Development with a capital D and development with a small d. The capital D development is one which is all about structural transformations, big buildings, right? Big technology. That's the story that we tell. But there's a smaller story. A smaller story, I just tell you one quick story that I love exchanging notes with somebody yesterday. Sometime in 1895, when the plague hit Western India, there was a lot of people who were really suffering because they lost their livelihood, they didn't know what plague was. And there was a guy called Barclay who went down to the school teacher, sat down and wrote a lot of reports about what was happening in the region and said we need some kind of a basic industry that is going to give jobs. What is this basic industry? He made a list of 3 or 4 things. One of them was blown glass. Blown glass, that is where you get that. Where do you get blown glass from? The report circulates through the Indian National Congress and Tilak says, let's go to Japan and bring back some ideas. They go to Japan, bring back some ideas. They set up the first blown glass factory. Right? Valsad becomes one place. Morbi in Gujarat becomes one center. What happens in Hyderabad? Something very interesting happens. Here you have a hakim who invented a medicine that could be given orally, could be taken on the surface of the skin, etc., and it was named Zinda Charisma, the living magic, right, which could bring back a dead cow to life. This is what the story was, right? The man needed some way of delivering this in a small vial through a kirana shop to everybody in the region, not when people go to the hakim. Right? So you don't put it in a big bag. He goes and buys up a small blown glass tank. He goes and buys a small printing press and prints instructions in 5 different languages. Right? This is how technology comes. You have one big transformation happening across the world, and it's one individual, that entrepreneurship, without which these connections would have happened. Right? Same story for our fountain pens. 1936, you have Hyderabad, Usmania University, all the young men and women are trying to write exams. सियाही में डुबो की कैसे लिखेंगे? एग्जाम इतना लिखने के लिए जाना है, वहाँ पे बैठ के how am I going to carry my ink bottle? That's the time when vulcanized rubber becomes possible. That's the time when your lathe machine becomes possible. That's the time when somebody says, let's try and figure out how to turn this small vulcanized rubber rod and put some screws into it and put a neighbor into it. Right? This is how things work. I think that we are actually looking at a society now in which you have literally tens of thousands of young people, 13 years, 14 years old, they all know how to make TikTok. They all know how to play with the internet. They all know how to play. Those are the frontier men. Those are the frontier people. And I think that if you really have to do anything at all with democracy and development and the future, this is where we need to make that investment. These are the people who can do really, really amazing things. Because they're thinking constantly about, not about rules and how to conform, but about how to get around rules. And you need that enterprise of how to get around rules that constrain you. That's where your energy will happen.
Wonderful. You know that story of Ullah actually tells you the moral of everything that we are discussing.